In over 4 decades on the bench, I've seen nearly every kind of moment a courtroom can produce. Men breaking down in tears, others trying to negotiate their way out, some exploding with anger, and a rare few choosing honesty when it mattered most. But there was one thing I never expected to witness. Not once in 43 years did I imagine that someone wearing a badge would walk into my courtroom and try to have me placed in handcuffs. And yet, on a bitter Tuesday morning in February, that is exactly what happened, and what followed became one of the most talked about courtroom moments the city had ever seen. If you believe the law should apply equally to everyone, even those who think they're above it, then stay with me, because this story proves something important. Justice doesn't disappear. It just waits for the right moment to show up. And if you enjoy watching power and arrogance unravel in real time, then you're exactly where you need to be. That morning began like any other. I stepped into the courtroom at precisely 8:45 a.m., coffee in one hand, and the same worn leather folder my father gave me the day I became a judge in the other. But the second I looked up, I knew something was different. The room was packed, every seat taken, people lined against the walls. That kind of crowd doesn't gather for routine cases. My clerk leaned in and quietly said, "We have a special matter today. Case 7349. I glanced down at the docket and read the name. James Richardson, age 52. Charges, contempt of court and obstruction of justice. On paper, it sounded straightforward. These types of cases usually are. But the moment I looked up again, I realized this was anything but ordinary. Standing before me wasn't just another defendant. It was the city's top law enforcement official, the police commissioner himself. He stood there in a perfectly tailored navy suit, every detail precise, every movement controlled. Expensive watch. Polished shoes. The kind of presence designed to remind everyone in the room who he believed he was. Beside him stood his attorney, a high-powered defense lawyer known for protecting the wealthy and well-connected. Both men carried the same quiet confidence, the kind that suggests they don't expect consequences. Across the room stood the prosecutor, Lisa Chen. Sharp, capable, one of the best I'd seen in years. But that morning, something was off. There was tension in her posture, a slight tremor in her hands. That told me everything I needed to know. This case ran deeper than it looked. When I called the courtroom to order and asked for an explanation, Lisa took a breath and began. 3 weeks earlier, she said, the commissioner had inserted himself into an active criminal investigation, one involving his own nephew. According to the report, his nephew had brutally assaulted a man outside a bar late one night. The victim wasn't just anyone. He was a military veteran, a man already carrying injuries from service, working long hours just to support his family, including a young daughter battling a serious illness. The altercation should have ended with a routine arrest. The evidence was overwhelming, multiple witnesses, surveillance footage, even the suspect's own social media posts documenting his behavior that night. But then the commissioner arrived. He showed up at the station in the middle of the night and demanded his nephew be released. When officers refused, he didn't stop, he threatened them. Careers, reputations, futures, he made it clear he was willing to destroy all of it to get his way. One officer, Patricia Morales, refused to back down. And when he pulled her aside and escalated those threats, she did something that changed everything. She recorded it. Every word. Every threat. 8 uninterrupted minutes. When that recording was played in my courtroom, the air changed. There was no ambiguity. No room for interpretation. His voice was clear, deliberate, and undeniable. And when it ended, I asked if he had anything to say. He smiled. Not only did he not deny it, he stood by it. He openly admitted that he expected his authority to override the law, that his position gave him the right to decide which cases moved forward and which didn't. That was only the beginning. More evidence followed. Testimonies from other officers. Internal communications. A pattern that stretched back years, cases interfered with, reports altered, evidence mishandled, all to protect the powerful and connected. The image he had carefully built in that courtroom began to crack. But instead of stepping back, he doubled down. At one point, he stood up, pointed directly at me, and began attacking, Not just my authority, but my background, my identity, everything he thought made him superior. He spoke with the certainty of someone who had never been challenged before. He believed power made him untouchable. He was wrong. As more evidence surfaced, messages, posts, financial records, it became clear this wasn't just interference in a single case. It was something far bigger. Corruption at a level that reached beyond local jurisdiction. And then, at the height of it all, he made a decision that changed everything. He picked up his phone and ordered officers to come to the courthouse and arrest me. We waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. When he called again, the reality hit him. His authority was gone. The system he thought he controlled had turned on him. Leadership had already moved to strip him of his position. And then the doors opened. Officers entered the courtroom. But they weren't there for me. They were there for him. The same officer he had threatened stepped forward and placed him under arrest. In that moment, everything shifted. The confidence, the arrogance, the certainty, it was all gone. For the first time, he looked exactly what he was. Accountable. When I delivered my ruling, it wasn't just about punishment. It was about restoring something that had been damaged, trust in the system itself. He was found guilty on all counts. A full year in custody. No special treatment. Financial restitution. Public accountability. And a requirement to face, firsthand, the kind of people he had dismissed and disregarded. As he was led out of the courtroom, he looked back one final time. And in that brief moment, it was clear he finally understood. Titles don't place anyone above the law. Power doesn't erase consequences. And when people choose integrity over fear, justice doesn't just exist. It shows up, loud and undeniable, exactly when it's needed most.